From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine on Wednesday night. Very good show tonight. We're talking all about metro schools. Almost halfway through the school year. How do you think it's going? What do you want to talk about? Very happy to have with us as our guest Olivia Brown, Communications Director, right, for Metro Schools?
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Dr. Register is on often. Couldn't make it tonight, but we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So, halfway through almost the school year, what are, I guess, the biggest challenges? You know, we'll talk about the good stuff as well, but what are some of the things you're focused on now, halfway through the year?
So it's amazing how fast this year is flying. I cannot believe we're already at the end of November. It just seems like school started, you know, August 6th was just a few days ago almost. We've been really busy. I mean, the schools are really focused on you know, the students and the classroom instruction and all of the things that go along with being in school. School plays are in full swing, football's been going on, and just all of that. But as a district, you know, we've had a lot of different focuses. We've been working on our priority schools list. We've been looking at capital needs within the district, and really we're always looking for improvements that we need to make for this year, and then long range for what things we need and the decisions that need to be made for the long-term decisions.
So all choice schools, that's certainly been a big issue in East Nashville. And then when you talk about capital needs, there was a big meeting just this week about changes in Green Hills and at Hillsborough and Hillwood, primarily at Hillsborough High School. And I'm interested in that. We have some video from that meeting, but basically what is being discussed out there in Green Hills at Hillsborough High School?
So for the last several years, we have really focused on our capital budgets have been really focused on dealing with crowding and overcrowding and needs for high growth areas and high population growth areas in the district. And we have a lot of high schools, and Hillsborough High School is one of those that have significant needs in their facility. Hillsborough is an older building. It was built in the 1950s, so it's 60 years old. It's been added on to over the years, had some updates here and there, but it's a large building and needs of lots of repairs. It needs a minimum of about $32 million for a renovation for that building. They need a larger cafeteria. They need a better and larger media center. They need more efficient classroom space. Their finishes need to be redone, and their systems need to be upgraded. So it's really a total renovation need there. And so with a $30+ million price tag to renovate, then it becomes, okay, so what is the best option? Do we need to renovate this building as it is? And if so, in what way? And then, or do we need to look at replacing the building? And that's really the conversation that we're starting now. We've had a couple of different studies done, one that looked at renovating and how it could be renovated to make the space more efficient. And then we've had a study done that would look at how we could replace the building and make something totally different on that site, and perhaps use a portion of the site to help fund that replacement building and address some of the needs in the community. So
that's a fascinating idea, and obviously we're talking about an area that is very valuable as far as property goes. There's about 28 acres over there, almost 30 acres of property that school sits on, as I understand it. And there's discussion about selling 10 acres. I would assume it's the 10 acres right there on Hillsborough Road, right there across from Green Hills Mall. That would be incredibly valuable property. You could sell that, theoretically. That could be developed, and perhaps it would fund all or a portion of whatever would need to be done behind that. Is that is up for discussion,
That
right?
is one of the options that's up for discussion, and again, we're just kind of really starting those discussions. We have a couple of different of these proposals with some general ideas. There's some, you know, just some concepts of what it could look like, what the spaces could look like, both in the renovation plan and in a replacement plan. It could be a matter of selling off some property or leasing some property. Maybe not. Maybe it's something that has to do with the entire site. But what we do know is that we do need to make a plan for Hillsborough High School that will make that school the best facility for the students who are going to be coming into that school, that will make the spaces what they need for their, for modern, going forward, the programming that we have in that school. But we also need to look at the Green Hills community as a whole and the needs of that community and the desires of the residents and the parents who live in that area, and who that is, that Hillsborough is such an integral part of their community. So that's kind of where we've started. We had the first meeting on Monday, this past Monday night. We had about 150 to 200 folks there, and we just started the conversation, and we'll have future. We're going to look at a traffic study. I think that's one of the next steps, is to get a traffic study to kind of see how
there's going to be a lot of
traffic impact.
I think the study will come back and say it's very congested.
It's congested, I think so. But maybe there are ways that with this renovation or replacement, traffic issues could kind of be looked at as well.
How unusual is it, or how common is it for Metro Schools to sell some of its property? I know you've sold buildings. I mean, this is something that happens. I would think this 10 acres, that would be just, again, prime property. That would be a major undertaking to sell that. It's a big deal.
Well, there's no doubt that property would be very, very prime property, prime real estate to look at. And over time, there have been many folks who have suggested that the school should be relocated altogether, that it should just be moved from that commercial area. It kind of serves as a buffer from the commercial area of the mall and the residential areas there behind it. But honestly, there's really not a good location that's ever been identified where the school could relocate to. It's very central to the district for the Hillsborough zone. And it's a great, it's historically been there for many, many years, back into, I don't even know how far back, but I know at least into the 30s. And so it's not really an option for us to want to relocate the school.
So there's not any talk about selling all of that property?
No,
So
there's
Hillsborough
not.
High School will be there in some shape or form?
That is the way we understand it, yes.
And I know there are residents that do appreciate that buffer and don't actually want to see more development. And so they do have concerns when you're talking about any more development in that area where there's already a lot of traffic. And certainly if you were to sell that 10 acres and it were developed, I guess the concern is there that that's just more congestion and that type of thing. But at the same time, when you could see all the money that would generate, it would really help offset the cost of whatever needs to be done with the school.
So one thing that we want to keep in front of this conversation is, we have to look at all of our district capital needs. We have close to $1 billion in capital needs in the district. And we have several high schools. Hillwood is another high school. Overton is another high school that needs significant renovations, very expensive. High schools are expensive to renovate. They're large buildings. They have specific programming. They have athletic facilities. All of those things have to be taken into account. And so, we've also done we're going to start a similar community engagement process with the Hillwood community, and that's coming up too. But what we're trying to do is look at all these different options and realize that we kind of have to weigh out all the options, all the things, and the needs that we have in the district, and that the city has to also look at other needs, other capital needs within the city, and try to make recommendations that are going to serve our students, but are going to serve the city as well, and it's going to make the most efficient use of the resources that we have available.
And what's your time frame with this? Best case scenario, worst. What is the time frame for a new something there?
Yeah, there's really not a time frame at this point. Hillsborough, Hillwood, Overton, they're all very high on our capital needs list right now. And I think what we want to do is to be really thoughtful about the process, but also know that just making a decision, making a recommendation to our board, capital needs committee, then having it go forward into a capital budget proposal to be reviewed by the mayor of the Metro Council, and then if funding is approved, then you have a design period of time and an impact. So we're talking about a few years out before anything significant could occur. But it is definitely a conversation that needs to start now, because the building does definitely need to be addressed.
We will take a break. If you want to call, there's the number, 737 plus 737-7587. Talk about all choice schools, that discussion in East Nashville. Talk about anything else you want to talk about. Metro schools. Take a break. Be back right after this.